Today's topic is called partial fraction decomposition. Let's start with what is a partial fraction decomposition first. So let's start with looking at a simple question. Solve out 1/3 plus 1/2. Hopefully most of you guys answered as 5/6. So up to this point, we're given two fractions and we were asked to add or subtract to figure out the answer. Today, we're going to go backward. You're given 5/6 and you're asked to separate them into two separate fractions. So you're decomposing the fraction into multiple fractions. So 5/6 will obviously become 1/3 plus 1/2. Okay, this process of breaking down is known as partial fractions. Our lesson today is focusing on this with algebraic equations. So let's take a look at example 1. Decompose the following fraction. Our fraction is 5x minus 11 over 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. In order to write that as partial fraction, you want to start by factoring the denominator. So in this case, 2x squared plus 11x plus 5 will factor down to x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. So the two factors in this case will be the two denominators that will separate these fractions. So for example, it will be 5x minus 11 over 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. This will equal to x plus 5 plus 2x plus 1 of some kind of quantity. Now to figure out the numerator, your numerator will have a value of 1 less degree than the equation of your denominator. So in this case, your denominator is a linear function. 1 less degree will be a constant, so we're going to notate that with just letter A. 2x plus 1, once again, that's a linear function, so 1 less degree will be a constant, so I'm going to notate that with B. To figure out the partial fractions, now all we have to do is solve out what A and B is. So on the left side, you will still have 5x minus 11 over 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. And on the right side, we're going to try to use common denominator. So on the first equation, or first fraction, we'll get multiplied by 2x plus 1. So it'll be A times 2x plus 1. And now your denominator will be x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. Your second fraction will get multiplied by x plus 5. So b will get multiplied by x plus 5. And your denominator still will be x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. So now we have all three of these fractions to have a same denominator. As long as your two numerator will add up to 5x minus 11, we'll have our answer. So we could say 5x minus 11 is equal to 2ax plus 1a plus bx plus 5b. Again, I got these values by distributing a to 2x plus 1 plus b distributing to x plus 5. Now let's group them by x's and the constant. So if you factor in x, you will have 2a plus b times x plus your constant in this case is a plus 5 times b, and this will equal to 5x minus 11. So the constant in front of x has to equal to 5. And in our case, it will be 2a plus b will equal to 5. And the constant, which is negative 11, will be equivalent to a plus 5b. A plus 5b has to equal to negative 11. So look what we have here. We have something called system equation. You guys have different options. You guys could use elimination method or substitution to solve out what a and b is. Your a in this case, if you solve out using system equation, will come out to be 4. And your b will come out to be negative 3. And there we have it. Our partial fraction will be 4 over x plus 5 because a was 4. Your b was negative 3. So plus negative 3 over 2x plus 1. And here is our partial fraction of 5x minus 11 over 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Again, you guys can always double check by adding them together. It should get you the answer of what we started with. So same direction, decompose the following fraction. Now our fraction in this case is 14x squared plus 25x minus 30 over 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus 10x. Once again, we're going to start with factoring your denominator. 2x to the third plus 5x squared minus 10x. They all have x in common, so I'm going to take out an x. This will become 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. And I believe 2x squared plus 5x minus 10 is not factorable, so here's our two factors. So these two factors will be your two fractions that will decompose from your original fraction. So 14x squared plus 25x minus 30 over 2x to the third plus 5x squared minus 10x will be equal to your first denominator being x, your second denominator being 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. Now, your numerator, once again, is one less degree than your denominator. X is a linear function, so the numerator will be just a constant, which is a. Now, your second fraction is quadratic function, so one less degree than that will be linear function. So you will write it as bx plus c. So the left side of the equation will stay the same, so 14x squared plus 25x minus 30 all over 2x to the third plus 5x squared minus 10x will equal to, again, common denominators, so a will get multiplied by 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. Your denominator will be x times 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. Now bx plus c will get multiplied by x. Once again, your denominator stays exactly the same as the previous one. So now we have common denominator for all three denominators, so you don't have to worry about the denominators. So we could say that 14x squared plus 25x minus 30 will equal to 2ax squared plus 5ax minus 10a plus bx squared plus cx. Again, distributing the a's, distributing the x will get you this result. So let's try to group by the term. So we could factor x squared from 2a plus b. So we could say that 2a plus b will be the coefficient of x squared. Now x's will be 5a plus c. And the last one is just 10a. So this will equal to 14x squared plus 25x minus 30. So looking at the equations, we know that 2a plus b will have to equal to the coefficient of x squared, which happened to be 14. 5a plus c is a coefficient of x, so that has to equal to 25. So we could say 5a plus c will equal to 25. And lastly, negative 10a has to equal to negative 30. So negative 10a is equal to negative 30. So now we have our equation that will help us to solve a, b, and c. A is pretty straight to solve, so a will equal to 3. Now, by substituting 3 back in, we could solve out what b is. B will equal to 8. Similar concept, by substituting 3 back into a, we could solve out what c is. C will equal to 10. So again, put those constants into appropriate fractions. So a was 3 over x. Your b was 8, so that'll be 8x plus 10, 10 being your c, over 2x squared plus 5x minus 10. And here's our partial fractions. To solve partial fractions, you should start by factoring the denominators. Using those denominators, we're going to create fractions. So if you have 2 factors, you'll have 2 fractions. If you have 3 factors, you'll have 3 fractions, and so on. And the third step will be write the numerator using constant. Just keep in mind that your numerator will be an equation 1 degree less than your denominator. For example, if your denominator was a linear function, your numerator will be constant. If your denominator is quadratic, your numerator will be linear. If your denominator is cubic, your numerator will be quadratic, and so on. Now, solve out the constants using the system equations. And last step, substitute the constants to the respective denominators.